Hello, this is David Kahn, Chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus of Arizona. I'm here with our Secretary-Treasurer, Ben Beckhart, and we wanted to give you an update on the legislative session so far. It has been a particularly busy session this year, probably because last year's was cut short. So, Ben, what are some of the main bills we're tracking and what are their status?
Yeah, hi everyone. Just wanted to give you an update on the legislative session so far. Start off with some of the bad bills. It's last week was the deadline for all the bills to get passed out of their first committee, so we saw a lot of bad bills die because of that, which is good. There was a few gas tax increase bills from Senator Livingston and Representative Carroll. Both of them failed to get out of committee, so we were glad to see those that we opposed die. There was one bad bill that did make it to the floor yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday, but yesterday there was Representative Kaiser had a tourism marketing authority bill come to the floor. That bill created 6 pages of new statute giving cities and towns and counties the authority to create a new bureaucracy called a tourism marketing authority, which could levy, a new tax on hotel rooms. So it's a bad bill. When it came to the floor, Kaiser stood up and he said,
in my heart of hearts, I do not believe this is a tax increase.
And I think if that's your argument to defend the bill, it's probably not a bill that's worth supporting. So it did fail on the floor, 28-32, but there was a motion to bring it back, so it may come back for a second vote. So we'll keep you posted on that. So that's an example of one of the bad bills that we oppose, that we're fighting. Some of the good bills, we'll start with some of the emergency order bills. There's Warren Peterson and Michelle Ugenti-Rita both have several bills they're running to roll back some of the governor's emergency powers. The one that seems to be getting the most traction is Warren Peterson's bill, SCR 1003. It did pass out of the Senate on a party line 16-14 vote, and that bill would automatically terminate a governor's emergency orders after 30 days unless the legislature extends it, and it would require the legislature to be called into a special session within 10 days of an emergency order. So that's a good bill. We support that one. And like I said, Michelle Ugenti-Rita has a few similar bills running through that we're supporting as well.
We have been in this now for coming up on a year. We should be working collaboratively, but we're not. Because so often it's very easy to take people's rights and freedoms and choices away, and it's nearly impossible to give it back. And that's exactly what has happened.
They haven't came up for a floor vote yet, but we will keep you posted on those. A few other ones. Joseph Chaplick in the House, he's running a good bill for mask freedom. So HB 2770 is the bill, and it would give private businesses the freedom to choose not to follow or enforce a mask mandate on their private business property. It's a common sense pro-freedom bill, just allowing these private businesses to enact their own health protocols. These are responsible businesses and individuals. They can do that on their own, and we shouldn't be forcing overreaching government mandates on them.
It's a simple bill. It restores the freedom and liberties back to the individual and the individuals that own a business to make their own decisions. Since this has been introduced, I've received probably hundreds of positive emails. For almost every 30 to 40 positive emails I've got on this, I've got maybe one negative. I'll read a couple here in this session. Thank you for this legislation that will protect sovereign individuals from this dehumanizing face covering mandate. Anything can be made into a mask, so it's not about safety, it's about compliance. It should not be the role of small business to enforce a mask mandate. Private businesses should not be subjected to overreaching government mandates. Private businesses should have the freedom to enact their own health protocols.
So that's a good bill, HB 2770, passed out of committee on a party line vote. Still waiting for it to go to the floor, but we'll keep you posted on that one. And then as we're recording this on, it's Wednesday night, just moments ago, as we're recording this, the House passed out Travis Grantham's civil asset forfeiture bill. I think it was 57-2. There were 2 Democrat no votes. That's HB 2810, and that's a huge bill.
You know, I believe strongly in due process and the property rights of innocent Arizonans, and that's what 2810 does. It's a similar bill this year. It will require the government to convict an individual of a crime before they permanently take their property. Pretty straightforward, right? Make sure that the property that's taken is directly connected to the crime itself. The bill will also require law enforcement to return the property in a timely manner if they decide not to pursue criminal charges, or they lose the case in court.
Absolutely, that is huge. Civil asset forfeiture lets the police take your property and sell it to add to their budgets, and this happens before you are convicted, so this is a great win for property rights and due process. And it's really great to see the strong bipartisan support on this.
Yeah, that was a bill that they ran last year, and it crashed and burned on the House floor when the AG office came against it and the Democrats came against it. But this year they got the AG to be neutral on it, so there's little resistance. Hopefully it sails through the Senate and we can get that passed and defend our private property rights. We could go to a few of the tax cut bills that have been running. J.D. Mesnard over in the Senate, he has a couple good tax reform bills we are supporting. SB 1108, that one, this does a bunch of things. It's cuts property taxes across the board, cuts business property taxes, cuts capital gains taxes, increases the child dependent tax credit. So it's a good bill. It'll cut taxes for a lot of people all across the board. I don't think it's come up for a floor vote yet, but it just passed out of committee of the whole today. So it'll probably be up for a floor vote any day now. So that's a good tax cut bill. And then Mesnard also has another bill, SB 1109, which this one is an interesting bill. It would automatically trigger an income tax rate cut in future years when there's a budget surplus. So it would put an automatic trigger into statute, so it would happen whenever there's a surplus. Common sense bill, if the government's bringing in more money than they're spending, they should give it back in a tax cut. So that one failed on the Senate floor last year because Brophy, McGee, and Carter voted against it. With both of them gone now, hopefully this has the votes to pass this year.
Absolutely nice to see tax cuts moving ahead. Are there any major bills in the criminal justice reform area that have caught your eye?
One of the big ones that we supported was Joel John had a bill on mandatory minimums.
A few years back, a gentleman in my district ended up, he had been a felon, spent some years in prison, had trouble finding a job, and ended up having to work on a farm for us. I got to know him prior to that through church and whatnot, but I got to know him even better when he worked at our farm for us. But he spent several years in prison for some petty crimes that he committed because he became addicted to painkillers from the injury that he sustained on the job. And one of the things that stood out to me when we discussed this, and he was pretty open about spending time in prison, was that the several years that he spent in prison, he was subjected to some mandatory minimum sentences, and there were people that spent less time in prison than he did for more serious offenses, and that didn't seem right to me.
I believe it's first-time offenders if there's extenuating circumstances to make it seem like this is somebody that just made a one-time mistake and is likely to be a positive member of society going forward.
Yeah, I think it was if it's not necessary to keep them behind bars for that long for public safety reasons, or if it's an injustice to the defendant, then they would allow them to go around the mandatory minimum. So that way we're not sending people behind bars longer than they should. I also wanted to come back to a few of the tax cut bills that Warren Peterson was running. He had a bill that would phase out the corporate income tax over the next 10 years. Couldn't find the votes to get that out of committee to get it passed on the floor either, but it was amended, so it'll help allow businesses to write off the first $100,000 of their income off their taxable income. So it still gives us a significant tax cut to businesses and small businesses. That's SB 1252. Still waiting for that to come up for a floor vote.
And that'll be very important given the concerns small businesses properly have over Prop 208.
Yeah. I think we covered most of the big ones. We could sit here all day talking about all the smaller bills, but those are some of the big bills that we're tracking. We'll keep you posted on our social media with everything that's coming up. And feel free to message us, comment on our pages if you have any questions.
Absolutely. Always happy to hear from everybody. In March, we will be having our annual organizational meeting coming up. We will be posting about that as soon as we finish setting a time and a place and hear back from possible speakers. And I'd also like to conclude by giving everybody a reminder, if you haven't already, sign up for requests to speak. You have to do that at a kiosk downtown, but if you reach out to us or to any of our friends over at Americans for Prosperity or Arizona Free Enterprise, you know, we all have people that go downtown from time to time and would be happy to arrange that for you. And also to encourage people to sign up as a precinct committee person if you haven't already. We need a lot more pro-liberty people being involved in party leadership on the LD level. So if you're interested in getting more involved and having your voice heard, please think about these 2 steps.
I think we're good.
Yep.
So we'll talk to you
Thank
guys later.
you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.